In a world where AI controls your career, marriage, and entire future, 16-year-old Yum is suddenly recruited into a secret government task force. But when even her new coworkers mistake her for an android, she begins to wonder, why did the world's most powerful AI choose her? Like, subscribe, and let's begin. A notification from the new United Nations arrived out of nowhere, a job assignment, and a summons to report. No matter how I think about it, this is way too early for me. Today is my birthday. I'm Yum, written with the characters for Citrus and Bud, and I'm now 16 years old. But if you asked whether today's 16-year-old me is any different from yesterday's 15-year-old me, honestly, I don't feel like anything's changed at all. Maybe that's why. When I think to myself, only 3 more years until I finish compulsory education at 18. Even though it's about my own life, only vague, detached words like that come to mind. When you turn 18, the government sends you a notification of your designated occupation, and from that point on you're an adult working somewhere at something, and eventually a marriage assignment notice arrives too. So right now, I'm still just a student, nothing more. But that doesn't mean I'm emotionless or anything like that. The career preferences I've been submitting on the slim chance they'll be considered are things like painter or musician, pretty creative stuff. Apparently when I was little I used to scribble on everything and got scolded for it all the time. I was too small back then to remember it clearly. Even now, whenever I look at the sky from school, I get this urge to paint that puffy scenery on a big white sheet of paper. My desk at school is by the window, so I always end up staring outside instead of paying attention in class. The sky is usually gray, but when you catch a rare glimpse of blue, it's beautiful. So sometimes when a teacher calls on me with a question, I don't even notice. Normally, there's a little light on the edge of the desk that flashes when you're called on, so most people catch it right away, and I end up getting scolded for that too, ugh. Yum really lives up to her name, doesn't she? Miwana, who sits in front of me, often says that to me. Miwana and I have been together since middle school. She's the one who pulled me, someone who spent most of her time alone, into what you might call society, classmates. From elementary through high school, boys and girls are separated, so I've always been surrounded only by girls. She's practically a benefactor to me. Not really. That's what I usually say, and every time I do, she laughs and gives me a little pat on the back. At this rate, she might leave a handprint on my uniform. You always look like you're half asleep. What are you talking about? How rude. I almost start to say I got a full 9 hours of sleep last night, but I hold it in. Apparently most people don't sleep that much. You've got this naturally AI-like face that's so cute, but you're totally wasting it. Naturally AI-like. I straightforwardly point out the contradiction. Since the government will eventually notify us of our marriage partners too, I honestly wonder whether your appearance really matters at all. Anyway, I got off track. The actual problem is that I'm still only 16. For quite some time now, the government's decision on employment has taken priority over individual wishes. Apparently in the old days, people could choose for themselves, but that led to a lot of cases where people entered the workforce without knowing what they were suited for and ended up failing, inefficient, they said. So the government, the new United Nations, formed after the old UN was dissolved. This is the world government now, decides your occupation and marriage partner. The declining birth rate, population decline, I guess those problems are solved now. Still, hearing it all of a sudden makes a string of question marks float above my head. To top it all off, it's not even humans making these policy decisions, it's AI. I don't fully understand it, but it's probably some enormous computer. Apparently in the old days it just answered questions you typed at a screen, but now it's humans who do the following. For a lazy person like me, having the country decide everything is honestly such a relief. The country probably knows me better than I know myself. I'm perfectly happy with the government choosing my job. I went off track again. So the job I was assigned, still a high school student, is to the Special Machine Intelligence Task Force. Just looking at those characters, it sounds like an incredibly intimidating place. When I read the full description on my mobile terminal, it turns out to be a government agency that handles various problems related to AI. I see. So KICHI is short for Kikai Kishi Machine Intelligence. I almost convinced myself that made sense, but wait just a moment. Why me of all people? I suppose that since I was selected, it means I was judged to have a better aptitude for this job than others, but exactly what part of me qualifies? AI is everywhere now. Or rather, life isn't really possible without it anymore. Even inside our home. Yuma. I received the notification in my room. My room is my own little castle, reasonably spacious. Inside, the desk and bed they gave me, a table, and a large canvas for painting. Not much else. I've got personal points I'm free to spend too, but since there's nothing I particularly want, they just keep accumulating. Miwana says hers are never enough, but compared to makeup and clothes, art supplies like paint are cheap. Yuma. Oh. Called from up close, I snapped back to myself. Were you spacing out again? Dad was standing next to me with an exasperated look on his face. When did he get in here? What? What do you mean, what? You got a notification from the government, didn't you? What was it? Parents receive a notice that a notification was sent to their child, though not the details, for privacy reasons. Complicated, I know. It says my job has been decided. What? You're still in high school, right? Well, yeah. Dad looks shocked. I mean, fair enough. You hear about the occasional super genius skipping grades, but do I have some kind of talent? None that I know of. Oh, maybe it's just a glitch in the AI's judgment. That's the only explanation that makes sense. Where? I just looked at it a second ago, and I've already forgotten the name of the placement. There's clearly no aptitude here, right? Something Special Task Force, Civil Service. Civil Service. That's wonderful. Dad is beaming. He's grabbed my hand and is pumping it up and down. He himself works as a government official, apparently not a very high rank, so he's probably delighted that I'm going into public service too. There's something I need him to take more seriously, though. He said it himself just a moment ago. I'm still a student, you know. That's not a problem at all. It's fine, eventually everyone works. It's just a few years earlier than expected, and to land a place like this on top of it, nothing could be better. Yeah, I guess. Losing my enjoyable student days early. Saying goodbye to Moana and the others, and on top of that. We'll be saying goodbye, Dad. Yes, we will. When you start work, you live somewhere other than your original home. The moment you graduate school, you're considered an adult, and after that you're on your own. When I actually think about it that way, it's a little lonely. You'll be fine. Yum seems scatterbrained, but you're actually dependable. You'll do well wherever you go. Scatterbrained yet dependable. It seemed contradictory again, and the moment I said so, Dad pulled me into a hug. So don't worry. Okay. When I said that, Dad smiled again. He's turning his face away now that I'm looking. He was embarrassed after all. Go tell your mother. Sure. I nod, trying to look natural. If I don't make a conscious effort, Dad will see right through it. Why? Well, it's just, how do I put this? It's not that I dislike her. She always worries about me, she's kind. She's truly the picture-perfect, ideal mother. Really, I've even drawn her picture. Beautiful, ageless mom. Oh, sorry, I had plans with Moana. Oh, all right then. Dad seemed to accept that. It feels like I told a small lie, and a tiny needle pricks at my conscience, but it's not a complete lie. I really do need to tell Moana. As of yesterday, I'm no longer a student, which means I can't go to school anymore. And the date I have to report is soon. If I don't see her now, I might never see her again. I ran when I left the house. This is a residential area, but it stretches on as far as the eye can see. Every home identical in size and layout, a perfectly standardized cityscape, so orderly that even someone who knows the area can get lost without carefully checking the street signs. Once you've worked a designated job for a certain period, the government provides you with a house. So, of course, all the houses look the same. There it is. I checked the address multiple times, so there's no mistake. This is Moana's house. It's the same design as mine, and it makes my head spin a little, but I'm sure of it. Good morning. I press the intercom button and say it at the same time. My voice probably didn't get through. Equals oh Yume, what's up so early in the morning? Equals. Oh, just. Equals hold on, I'll open it. Equals. The front door opened, and Moana came out from inside. She's wearing a long blue t-shirt that falls below her knees, clearly in full relaxation mode. What's going on? I came over. For what? Actually, I showed her the terminal I'd brought. What? That's amazing. Let me see. Special Machine Intelligence Task Force. That sounds so cool. Getting into a place like that early, you're so lucky. But someone like me working there. What are you talking about? Moana gave me her usual firm slap on the back. Oh, ugh. The government AI determined you were the most qualified person and chose you. Have some confidence. Oh. Still coughing, I couldn't get a word in as Moana kept talking. What part of me is qualified exactly? I asked nervously. That would be, of course, that expressionless face of yours where no one can tell what you're thinking. In reality, you're just sleepy, but that's beside the point. That's number one. Oh. And then there's those uniform, mechanical movements and that white skin. Too white, honestly. You know what happened before. When someone took a video of Yume and nobody believed she was a real human being. Well, that was. To put it simply, back in high school when we were making a promotional video to welcome new students, I somehow got pushed into being the guide. I thought I was doing great in front of the camera, being all enthusiastic, but apparently most of the new students found it unsettling. Honestly, how rude. Anyway, setting that aside, Moana clears her throat. It'll be fine, even if you can't trust the government. I'm your best friend and I personally guarantee it. Oh. She said it flat out and then grinned, that wide, cheerful smile of hers. If anything ever happens, come see me anytime. I don't know where I'll be posted yet, but I've got 2 more years of school here. Yeah, I will. Great, now get in here. She pulled me by the hand, and I stepped inside. Nobody's home today, so let's have a little tea party, just the 2 of us. Oh. Feeling less like a person and more like a stray cat that's been taken in, I was sat down in a chair, and a cup was placed in front of me. Moana was humming to herself, making soft clinks and clacks with the porcelain as she got things ready. Oh. I rested my chin on my hand and watched her. If you want to see an expression on my face, right now is the moment. I'm not expressionless. Somewhere in that reflection, there should be a version of me that looks genuinely happy. Is this kind of time really almost over? The moment that thought crosses my mind, a cloud passes over my face. I actually have a lot of expressions. Thank you very much. I'm home. I got back in the late afternoon, with the sun already tilting toward evening. It's spring, but at this hour it's still chilly. Actually, it's cold. Welcome back. I was taking off my shoes in the entryway when Mom appeared. She's probably heard from Dad already. Were you at Moana's this whole time? Yeah, I went to tell her about the job. Oh, she must have been happy for you. She was. When I said that, Mom smiled too. She's already in her 40s, but Mom looks like she's in her 20s. That's because she actually is in her 20s in a way, so it makes sense. Dad is aging normally, as expected for his age. I could never tell him that, though. It's wonderful that you got such a good placement. I suppose. You don't seem very enthusiastic. That's not it. My words and my expression don't match. Mom doesn't register that as a contradiction, I think. I could see Mom's eyes shift slightly, moving forward and back. She's trying to observe me more closely, scanning the finer details to get a better read on me. That's kind of her, really, but… I see you're nervous. That's the conclusion she arrived at. She's half right. An accurate breakdown of my current state. Half anxiety about an unknown job ahead, and half bewilderment at the thing in front of me that I call Mom. Mom died in an accident when I was in elementary school. It was supposed to be a perfectly safe self-driving car, but a 1 in a million malfunction caused it to go out of control, and she was struck by the runaway vehicle. She jumped in front of it to protect me. So the Mom standing here now looks exactly like the Mom from back then, but she's actually a mechanical doll. On top of that, the government uses the personal big data it collects daily to reconstruct her personality. So she's as close to human as it gets. She looks exactly like Mom. If you didn't know, you'd never be able to tell. Even so, she's undeniably something different from the Mom I knew back then. Yeah, but I'll be fine. If you say so. Thank you. I smiled and went to my room. That was the best I could manage for a conversation with Mom, even if my face was a little stiff. I closed the door behind me, took a deep breath, and then looked at the notification again. Special Machine Intelligence Task Force, a department specializing in things like AI. Starting now, I'd have to interact with AI like, well, not like Mom, but still, AI I've never even met. Phew. I opened the window and looked up at the sky. The sunset looked dull today too, as usual. Even so, for some reason, I like it. The way it changes, moment by moment. There are two major changes that came with AI advancing. One is that AI has taken over management of humanity, making the judgments. As a result, the declining marriage rate and population decline have been reversed. That's a very good thing, I think. The other is the advancement of mechanical dolls. Something about overcoming humanity's grief, the sorrow of losing someone and not being able to forget them. That was supposedly the pitch. In reality, Dad treats Mom's doll as a true family member. Thinking about it won't solve anything. There's so much that can only be figured out once I actually start the job. It'll work out somehow, even if it's a pain. That's what I thought at the time, but I would soon learn it wasn't going to be nearly that simple. A few days after the notification, I had become a resident of the government housing, something like company dormitories, I suppose. Rows of flat white slab-like buildings stood in neat formation. Inside my room, a plain white space with only the bare minimum of facilities, I set my canvas from home right in the center of the floor as my small act of resistance. It's a cramped apartment, but more than enough space for living alone. Apparently once you marry, you get a detached house from the government, but I can't picture that version of myself at all. Look. The mobile I used as a student was taken away and replaced with a work-issue device specific to this job, which means I can no longer contact home or my friends from school. I could technically take public transit back to my old house, but if I showed up out of nowhere, they'd ask what was wrong, and I wouldn't know what to say. Freezing up would be par for the course. Parents are obligated to raise their children until adulthood. I'm only 16, but I'm already being treated as an adult. So technically, Dad no longer has any obligation to raise me. Now it's just a government stipend and a comfortable life for him. When I think about it that way, what even is family? Too many questions. Now then, I was utterly exhausted from moving in, even though I didn't have that many things. And the idea of staying in bed for the next 2 or 3 days was completely normal, wasn't it? But reality is merciless. From the afternoon onward, I apparently had to show my face at my new workplace. Feels like someone else's problem. I'm sleepy. This is the very heart of New Tokyo's government district. People in suits are walking left and right. The same kinds of faces, in the same kinds of clothes. And here I am, also wearing my issued uniform. A black-based shirt and a modest skirt, and for some reason, a black outer coat on top with a small emblem of the Special Machine Intelligence Task Force on the chest. My hair is completely black too, so if Moana saw me, she'd definitely say something like, "What is that gloomy outfit?" I must look oddly conspicuous. But this is my uniform, whatever my taste, I have to wear it on duty. Look. The people in those lighter uniforms are all adults, of course. Each one of them has a life, and some of them might be married. Some probably have children. Just managing my own one life is already such a hassle. The thought that there are as many lives as there are people out there makes my head spin. And another thing, I can't actually tell the difference between the man I just passed and the one who walked by a moment ago. Like when you decide whether you like someone or not, this man I like, that man not so much. What is it you're even going on? I have no idea. For once, a clear blue sky was spreading overhead. Why do I have to go into a building at a time like this? I took the elevator up to nearly the top floor of the building, and there was my new workplace. The Special Machine Intelligence, something room. Look. In front of me was a metal door that looked about as rigid as a door could be. No transparent panels anywhere. I couldn't see inside from here. It's my first day after all, so I was genuinely nervous. Excuse me. I said that and then knocked. Wait, wasn't it the other way around? Equals come in. Equals. A man's voice from inside, not a young voice. A middle-aged man, maybe. Then again, this is probably someone important, so that makes sense. Look. The moment I stepped inside, I was surprised. What greeted me was nothing like I had imagined. A chaotic world stretched out before me. I'd pictured rows and rows of monitors and terminals, with lots of staff silently working away at each one. And yes, the room was certainly wide, and there were plenty of terminals and people, but it was far from orderly. There were maybe 10 people inside, someone groaning at their monitor, 2 people having what sounded like a rather heated argument, someone asleep on the sofa, all sorts. They all wore the black uniform. The desks were cluttered, and even though there were partitions, some of them were so plastered with sticky notes that you couldn't tell what was underneath anymore. Duh. I scratched my head a little, not that it itched. In situations like this, the rule is that the person seated at the far back is the most senior. So I walked straight across the floor toward them. And there sat a man who looked surprisingly young, maybe in his 30s. His outfit was a crisp black shirt with a gray tie, hair slicked straight back, and round glasses. His fashion sense was so far in the past it had looped back around to disastrous. When I stopped in front of his desk, he kept glaring at his monitor for a moment, then slowly shifted his eyes toward me. HM. Look. He looked at me and frowned. Then he abruptly stood up and leaned his face close to mine. This one, did the development division send over another new model? Close, very close, your face is very close. I can feel your breath on my face. This is impressive. L'MMPH. He grabbed my cheeks, both of them, and pulled. What was I supposed to do? It was so unexpected that I couldn't react in time. I just stood completely still, upright and silent, though my mouth was going from the stretching. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. The texture is indistinguishable from a real human. That's its own kind of problem, though. Look, what is this person even talking about? Still, if they were going to build one, I'd have preferred an adult model. Bringing something this young to a job site doesn't make sense. Build? Well, even before hearing that word, I had a vague idea of where this was going. Dumb. I looked up at him, gaze shifting deliberately upward. No, that movement is still not quite natural enough. Right there, that's pure AI movement. Excuse me. Chem. Could you please let go of my cheeks? They hurt. An AI doll spontaneously making a statement. No, I'm a regular human being. And it's correctly assessing the situation and voicing an opinion. No, I really am just a normal. The flow of its speech is smooth too. Look, this man was a lost cause. No matter what I said, he wasn't going to believe me, I could tell. So, what to do? The most straightforward solution. Do something an AI would never do. I'd known from experience how to handle situations like this. So I grabbed his cheeks, both of them, and pulled. What? He jumped back in surprise. The momentum caught him. He tripped over the trash can and went down. A massive crash bang clatter rang through the entire room, and every single person turned to look at me and the man on the floor. Wow, what on earth? As I was saying, I'm a human. I've been assigned here starting today. Look. He picked himself up and stared at my face again. What? It's true, honestly. He clicked his tongue right then. Come to think of it, that was rather rude. Good grief, if that's the case, you could have said so sooner. Walking in here with a face like a sleepy AI. A sleepy AI. I felt like that was a contradiction in terms. Chief. Someone was walking over from across the room. Chief, is she the new one you mentioned yesterday? That voice, a middle-aged voice. A bit husky, slightly rough. He looked old enough to already be solidly in uncle territory. Hair a mess, stubble on his face. His rolled-up shirt sleeves looked as though they'd never encountered an iron in their lives. Given its wrinkle-resistant fabric, getting wrinkles like that takes some doing. What is with this person? Is he really a civil servant? Right, so she's the one then, yes, I heard about her. The chief, so that's what he was, tapped some keys on his terminal and brought up a document on the screen. When I peeked, I could see a photo of me and some small text. So that's the situation. I stretched my neck to get a better look at the contents, but the chief said something like, oops, and immediately closed the screen. How unpleasant. Minace, you'll take charge of her training for the time being. Why me? Didn't you say you wanted an assistant for a while now? Sure, but... The man called Minace didn't look pleased. You can have her help with that case. It's killing two birds with one stone. She gets to learn how things work around here. Give me a break, expecting a girl who was a student until yesterday to jump straight in as an assistant. That's absurd. Yes, exactly. Say it louder, Mr. Minace. She'll be fine. Look at her. Enough to be mistaken for a doll. What? The gazes of both men, plus, for some reason, the entire room converged on me. That conversation came back around. This is a department that handles AI-related matters, which means she's perfect for the job. Look. Back to talking about my face, but what that has to do with anything, I genuinely cannot see. Fine, fine, I get it. He did. Mr. Menace looked exhausted by the whole thing, but he caved awfully fast. In that case, what was your name again? Forget it, new kid, come with me. Look. I followed behind Mr. Menace. He was quite tall. Walking directly behind him was like looking up at a wall. He spoke to the chief as an equal, so he couldn't be that old, but watching him stride along ahead of me, he looked as though he'd lived several times as much life as I had. Mr. Menace's desk was in the corner by the window. Not that this meant he was being sidelined, nothing like the old stories about window seat exiles in government offices. Looking down through the window, the people below looked tiny. Your desk will come, eventually, I'm sure. I see. Awfully laid back. I hoped things would be all right. At that moment, I had completely forgotten about smiling or expressions or any of that. Something wrong. No, nothing. You've certainly got an unfriendly face. Look. There really was nothing wrong, so that's all I could say. But as a first impression on the boss who's supposed to train me, it was about as bad as it gets. I had to do something to soften the damage, even a little. A topic to bring up. Let me think. What would Moana say in a situation like this? She'd probably throw out some clever line to lighten the mood, but having barely spoken to any males in my life, I simply don't have that drawer to pull from. After thinking desperately, the words that came out were, "How old are you, Mr. Menace?" Huh, why would you ask that? I just wondered. Look. Mr. Menace let out a sigh and scratched his head. I'm 28. Wait, you're in your 20s. I must have said it louder than I meant to, because once again, the entire floor turned to look. What's that? Are you saying it's strange for me to be in my 20s? Well, yes, I suppose. I'd assumed he was around 40. I've always looked older than I am. Is that so? So he must have looked something like this even back in elementary school. No good, I can't picture it at all. While this conversation was going on, we made a little tour of the department. About 10 people work here, a government office, and yet each person handles their own assigned work, and the whole place functions as a collective, apparently. It has a very freelance kind of feel to it. From what I'd heard about government offices beforehand, it was supposed to be all doing the bare minimum and bolting out the door when time's up. But I wonder if that's not the case here. Well then, I look forward to working with you starting tomorrow. Once the run-through of explanations was done, I gave a proper greeting like a proper working adult. And at last, I was free. Honestly, since I hadn't actually done anything yet, it still didn't feel like that place was where I worked. But well, even if I'm supposed to be an assistant, they wouldn't throw something difficult at a complete beginner right away. I'd like to think. Mr. Menace wouldn't entrust anything truly serious to a girl like me. Not sure I should be the one saying that. Yeah, it'll probably be fine. So, my whirlwind first day at work drew to a close, and tomorrow I properly debut as a member of society. Since I understood nothing, there was no way for me to prepare for work, which naturally meant the rest of today was mine to spend however I liked. There couldn't be a more reasonable excuse than that. For now, maybe I'd check out a nearby cafe. A nice cup of tea would be more than enough for me.